What is up guys, Speed here, and today we're going to be looking at one of my Jakiro replays. This was a position 5 replay. Yes, I do hear you guys in the comments who have been wanting some support content. And this video is going to show you exactly how I think and play support, right? Because supporting, in my opinion, is viewed very incorrectly. I think a lot of players see it as this completely sacrificial role where you have to have like somewhat low impact in team fights and you know, you can't actually get farm and create map pressure. You sort of have to be the guy that follows around and waits for your teammates to set things up and hope things works out and get down the vision. And, you know, like, sure, some of those things are true. Like, you should buy the wards and, you know, you might not always be the strongest hero in the game, but that is by no means a reason to just never have impact or never have farm.
Your team does not deserve your support. But holy crap, do they need it? At gameleap.com, we have hundreds of guides teaching you how the best support players in Dota secretly carry their games with awful teammates without them even knowing it. Start your climb through ranked as the hero of your team today by hitting the discount link to our special offer in the description down below.
First thing I'm going to talk about is starting items. I need you all, if you're playing support, to please start just buying anything that even slightly resembles this. I buy 6 tangos, I give 2 to mid, then I will always start with the wards in the sentry, it's very cheap now, and then the other things I get is some sort of regen, right? I'm buying more regen, and what this allows me to do is trade, and it allows me to, you know, use even more spells, because I want to use spells, and that is the first point of the video that I want to stress. Cast your spells. Cast them more, cast them again. If it's off cooldown, like how you see this fight is, right, they roll in, instantly I use my Q. No hesitation, I hit them both, and already we're off to a better trade. If I hesitate with my spells, we will not get a favorable trade in the long run, right? We're playing for the long run trade. Now, because I casted it right away, this comes off cooldown, and I can run this Mirana completely out of lane. Like, sure, I'm low on mana, but because I got 2 of them off, we get first blood. Strictly because of that. Strictly because I identified that she was a good target and cast 2 dual breaths, we pick up first blood. And that's Dota in a nutshell. If you do not play for all the micro decisions and the micro trading, as in casting your spells, you're not going to win the lane. You're not going to have enough impact to go up in MMR. It's just not going to be the case. And once again, now my Void gets a double kill because her Spirit decided to kill himself, right? And at this point, we're off to a really, really good start as my Void feeds. Noob. But yeah, I think one thing that support players always overthink is like trying to get the best usage of their spells. I got a 2-man dual breath, which was great to start the lane for me, but really, like, I would have had no problem casting it on just Mirana and trading with her level 1, because I understand I want to get off to the best possible start as soon as possible, and then now I have some downtime, right, where I don't necessarily want to trade with them inside this wave, the lane is fine, so I just pop my clarity, and I get it going. And this is the importance of casting your spells, and then having items to sustain this, because if you do not look at casting your spells as the way to win the lane as supports, like, right, as 95% of games, like, you have to cast spells, you won't learn how to properly play the lane. You won't. Now, the second half years, I don't really want to draw too much aggro, so instead of necessarily always hitting the opponent, I'm just going to focus on getting denies, right? Like, I really am a big fan of this, where instead of constantly just looking to hit your enemy, like I do it here because the lane statics, as I get hit by an arrow, which causes them to overcommit. Once again, I see he uses his mobility, we punish him for it. That's Dota 101, he didn't buy a stout shield and he dies for it. But in general, in the early lanes, I really do like putting an emphasis more so on denies, because I think, especially in a lot of the lower brackets, there's a huge lacking of priority on denying, right? It's just not there. And as a result, if you take some priority on it, you're going to win the lane, because it denies a lot of XP, and it's just as good as hitting your opponent, right? I would trade an auto attack on my opponent for a deny any day of the week, right? Because in this lane, it's somewhat hard for me to just like trade with this Mirana straight up if there's a wave in the way, strictly because she has longer attack range than me. But now, let's look at the second half of this laning stage. This is why lanes go well for me personally in this situation. This is the big turning point that everyone misses, because a lot of players could do what I just did. No problem. You cast your spells and you auto attack, right? You don't necessarily push the lane that fast, but lane gets pushed anyway because we did some trading. However, I recognize this, right? I recognize that the lane is pushing. So the first thing I do, because I recognize it's pushing, is I look at the clock. Right when I see the lane is pushing, I look at the clock and I see, okay, I can stack the camp, right? I couldn't get a pull off, or maybe I could and I was slow, I don't remember. But I really like getting a stack off, because now this happens. The lane is pushing, so that Void has a double wave, meaning he's basically protected, right? Because it's hard for them to trade in this. If they go on him, they're going to aggro all these creeps, so he's sort of protected. Also, it's a faceless Void. Lane's pushing, and now, because I stacked this, I don't have to pull through. and because I don't have to pull through, this lane will get denied. Entirely denied. Right? The whole entire thing. And this is massive, right? This is as if I just got a kill. That is how I see this. I just got a kill, right? I denied basically 4 creeps, right? And now if we look at the levels, Void 3, Mirana 2. Simple. It's really that simple, right? And you could be like, well, Earth Spirit sat less. Nope, he didn't. He didn't. We simply just denied an entire wave, and I have 3 denies on top of that. It's all about building up. I'm building up our advantage. Sometimes it's not about a fast build-up. You're not always going to be able to crush every single lane. It just isn't the case in a lot of situations. Like, Void Jakiro doesn't necessarily just consistently destroy the lane. It just might not happen. But what I'm going to look to do is hit a spike, right? So I make this pull. In addition, I can get my boots now, which I'm a big fan of. First thing I bought at this lane was a stick, and then I go for boots. And you might be like, well, what about all the ward speed? I could use the courier for the wards. Realistically, like, I don't want to do that because first off, the mid laner wants it, and where am I even going to place the ward right now? Like, I'm down to place it at the nighttime in the river, but like right now, I don't need the wards. So I buy an item like boots. Is it greedy? Yes. Does it work in solo queue? Yes. It works. Now here, this guy trades in a wave, and right, like, I'm constantly forcing them into bad positions. That's my goal here, right? So with that pull earlier, I forced them into a bad position. Right, where I basically deny a wave, I make the Earth Spirit split from the Mirana, and then Mirana has to 1v1 a Void. And if you know anything about Void, he outlasts hits Mirana, right? If we just look at the numbers, 30 damage, right? So I'm totally cool with just enabling my Void, right? And this is enabling. I zone the Mirana, I don't necessarily aggro the wave, I just zone her off the wave. And now, I could continue pulling. This is the second half to supporting that I kind of have like a minor thesis on, I guess, where a lot of this time when support players feel like they're useless in the safe lane, or like they've quote-unquote done their job, they instantly leave. A big thing that I highly recommend is that you don't leave, and it's hypocritical of me because I do in this game, but you don't necessarily instantly leave, and you continue just stack pulling the small camp. Just 8k stack pull the small camp. It's going to create such a large lead. Like in this case, instead of roaming, I get the side pull off, right? Even though the Void could solo lane, no problem. I mean, I help out with the kill. But most importantly, like, I still want to pull, right? And this is great because it gives me a lot of XP, right? As you notice, I'm going to come off and get level 4 off this now, which is great. And at the same time, I'm creating XP in this lane. By making these pulls happen, I'm creating XP. And by creating XP, right, like by stacking camps and allowing myself to take the large camp by side pulling, I don't have to take as much from the Void. And now he is level 6. Right? This is how you enable your carry without completely sacrificing yourself. It's based on stack pulling. That's a big one for me. Honestly, guys, if you don't already do that, I highly recommend you click the small camp at 53 and pull it out and then pull it right afterwards. I genuinely think it's like the way to go. So I'm not going to lie. I had a pretty tough like early to mid game. I didn't want to show you my deaths because I'm very insecure. But no, it was just kind of pointless. We went for kills on the push mid. We got punished due to proper rotations from the enemy team. And some messed up gank. But in general, right, like, what is my goal here now? It's sort of, at this point, I could continue just pulling and working towards an early level 6, right, which I'm already kind of on pace for, especially with the tome. I'm going to have it by 10. My big thing is don't completely sacrifice yourself. I took a bit of mid farm. I took a bit of lane creeps bottom. I stacked and pulled for myself bottom. I do play for myself. I am not, and I highly recommend you do not sacrifice yourself in solo queue, because if you sacrifice yourself, it's very hard to have impact. That's a fact. It's very, very hard to have impact as any hero with 2k net worth at 20 minutes into the game. Extremely difficult. And as a result, what I highly prefer, right? What I highly prefer is always getting level 6 by tome. If you do not hit level 6 with your tome every single game, I think you need to make an adjustment if you want to win solo queue games. You need to hit this spike. Now, Jakiro's spike isn't even that good, right? Your ultimate's like, it's solid, right? With a chrono in particular, it's good. But a hero like if you play an AA or a Bane or a Rubik, right? Any of these, then yes, you definitely want to be getting your level 6 by this 10-minute mark. And don't sacrifice your game too hard for it. So the next big thing I want to talk about is what should you do like afterwards and what should you do for a lot of the mid game. Big thing for me is pushing in lanes. I just genuinely believe it's one of the best ways to defend your towers, create map pressure, and keep your farm up, right? Because a lot of people sometimes their carries get invaded and die, and they're like, why do my carries keep getting ganked? And a lot of the time it's because they accidentally take the hard farm. So like literally they don't know it's dangerous, or they don't know it's hard because they're maybe not paying enough attention, whatever it is. And as a result, as a support player, if you can recognize the hard farm, then you can take it away from them, right? You take it for yourself and then basically save them by taking the hard farm. I know it's kind of weird, but you can farm to keep your carries safe, right? Because people will try to gank you. The point I recently just said about, taking the hard farm and preventing your carry from taking, a dangerous position on the map. There are other ways to protect the map and like keep up vision that isn't sitting behind carries. In fact, if you find yourself sitting behind a carry, listen to me guys, listen. If you find yourself sitting behind carry players in cores the entire game as a support, you will not, as you see me feed here, you will not be able to carry these games or have proper impact to get a high win rate, right? Because if you're at the whims of your cores, super hard. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how. Big thing for me this game as a Jakiro is to push in lanes. Now, this applies to actually a lot of position 5s. If I'm a Wyvern, even if I'm an AA, but more importantly, like anything with lave shove, so a Grimstroke, a Wyvern, a Rubik, a Jakiro, I want to put a heavy priority on defending mid tower because it gives me a lot of farm, right? It allows my techies to play top, it allows my Void to play bottom, and it prevents them from taking mid tier 1 and kind of invading and getting into our jungle. So yeah, this is what I did for the majority of the first 13 minutes. I didn't necessarily snowball that hard. I didn't necessarily go for some crazy wards. I don't think I played perfectly on that front by any means. But you notice like my levels are decent. Now I have a close to maxed out ice path and a solid net worth. It's not trash, right? It's 2.1, and we'll talk about how I go from 2.2 to 10k net worth by the end of this game, right? Because that is the big separation for me. Quick side note for all you support players, I think deep vision is very, very underrated. It can catch you, like get you a key catch. It can allow you to invade the heroes that you often want to be hunting, like the alchemist, the anti-mage, etc. And it allows you to set up for future objectives, right? Also, second half to that is if you get the deep wards down early, especially before like tier 1s are taken, it's very uncommon for them to get dewarded, which I really like. Now here, this play that I'm making right now is, I think, the main thing that support players just won't do. You just won't, and I really highly suggest you push for this. Look where my team is. Tiny bot rune, techies mid, Void is behind me, and so all I do here is I see this wave top, I ask my Void, right, can I take this? He says yes, I push it in, and now I'm pressuring the tower with the cart wave. Yes, my team is getting dove mid. I consider TPing mid if they need me, right? I check the fight, I see what's going on, I move my camera, I'm like, okay, do I need to TP in? I make the judgment call, right? I'm not just blind TPing, I'm not just being reactionary, I'm kind of figuring out how I think things needs to go. And now, because I pushed in that lane early and liquid fired the tower, we managed to take it. Plus, I have up this deep ward that enables us to take this tower, right? That preemptive ward, which is now going to get dewarded, due to the fact that they have, a Zeus, and we pushed to tier 2, which is why I said that ward will stay up longer if you don't push to tier 2 and it's early game. But really, I just love playing side lanes and trying to make aggressive plays. Now, you might not have your Void to coordinate with, but the main point there is, like, even if my Void isn't here, I would have stayed another wave and casted my ultimate on it, right? I literally would have stayed top and probably ultied this wave, assuming Mirana was still here. That's what I would have done, because it would have kept my farm up, and I would have continued to pressure the tower, simply by staying in the same lane. I won't leave, and this is my big thesis. Stay in the same lane, and continuously push it out for 2 to 3 minutes at a time. I really think this is the best way to get your farm up. You'll notice that you're going to complete big items faster. And you might be like, well, what if my team needs me? Come on. Do people make like coordinated plays? Is the game fast enough for your team to constantly need you and sacrifice your own game entirely as a result? I don't think so, right? And as a result, am I huge? Once again, no. But I have a ton of levels because I've shown and been near a lot of waves when they get pushed in. And you notice here, I use my ultimate, push in the wave, keep my farm up, and once again, force a reaction. Look, I'm completely dragging the enemy team around the map. I force Mirana. Pudge also kind of reacts and comes top. And now, instantly, after I push in top, I can rotate to another lane. Right? In fact, actually, the Pudge ends up showing here, and we make the good read. I'm constantly paying attention to my minimap as well. We make a good read on catching him here. But the big message I want to point out of this video is that stay in a lane, don't leave it, and don't be hasty, right? Don't be hasty. That's the big thing I see with a lot of 5s. They constantly feel like they need to, be with their team, or they can't show in a side lane and push it in. or after they do push in a side lane. Like literally, I've seen so many even core players do this where they push in a wave and then they instantly run back to the triangle. They just go all the way back because they think top side is dangerous. I don't see anything. 2 heroes are dead, which makes this a bit easier, obviously. But the big picture here is that, like, even if I die, who cares? That's a big point. Who cares? Who cares? If my Void gets to continue to free farm, which he has been doing all game, which, as a side note, is a result of me giving him a very good lane, which is why, like, if you're not laning properly, that should be your main focus. But the second half is, I'm not taking Void's farm this game. I'm playing very far away from him. I understand that he's the farm priority this game, so I will not push in waves if it's near him, right? Before asking him, at least, because there was one time where I actually did. So, really, that's it. And now we're splitting them up, right? They have an anti-mage, so they can't really fight. I think their draft is a bit worse than ours, to be honest. We do have attackis, which, I mean, I don't know what that means, but big thing here is, right, I forced the anti-mage top by constantly keeping in his lane. Now I can TP mid for a fight. So this is how I like to spread up the enemy. And you can become absurdly farmed by doing this. I have 4 deaths. If you can learn how to do this, or like, you know, safely defend lanes, especially when people are less comfortable diving, depending on your bracket, then you can go 4-0, 3-0 with like 100 last hits at the 25-minute mark, something like that, even sometimes the 20-minute mark, and just become a core. You just become a core. And if you look at this game in particular, is my net worth that high? Not really. It's okay. I'm buying all the wards and stuff and smokes and such, so obviously it's not going to be it's very hard to make it amazing, but the more important part for me is the levels. We look at their position 5, only level 10, right? Because a lot of his gold has strictly come from kills. A lot of mine comes from being next to lane creeps, right? Obviously, I've taken tomes as well, and now I have a 40 XP gain talent, which I didn't have before, so you can't use that as your argument. But I'm always next to lanes, and now, as a result, my abilities are just very high level and high impact. I can have high impact because I have high level abilities. It's the same reason why in lane, I don't want you to completely sacrifice yourself, and I want you to stack the small camp, and I want you to pull endlessly, because I want you, yes, I want you, yes you, to hit your level 6 by 10 and then continue snowballing. Don't give up. Don't hit your 6 and just AFK the whole game. Okay, this was the next level read, which I actually want to talk about. Let's look at this. How did we end up catching this anti-mage bottom? Let's look at the map, guys. How in the world did I tell my team, because I told them in the mic that this anti-mage was going to push bottom wave, right? How do I do it? So I look at him, and this is a big thing. I am looking at the map. Do you see this? This one click allowed us to get a kill on the anti-mage. That is it. And that is why I'm constantly paying attention to the minimap, because it is game-changing. Look at his movement here. Now, hopefully this is something you guys have rarely heard before. It's an idea of mine that I think is extremely effective, that players use without even realizing at the higher level. So anti-mage is showing, and there's lingering vision. He just cleared up the wave, right? There's still this like bubble of vision. And you'll see here, in this bubble of vision, he walks forward. That's all I need to know. That's all I need to know. He walks forward. And when I see, like, literally, this might sound crazy, but when I see him walk forward, my brain tells me that his intention is to push the next wave. That's his intention. He walked forward. The lingering vision told me that he plans on walking forward, right? And as a result, I TP bottom. This is why I TP bottom. I ping. You see me pinging the wave? I'm like, this guy's coming here. I'm like, he's going to come. So I tell my Tiny to run. I tell my Void to run, even though we don't see him. I'm like, this guy has the full intention to push this wave. And what do you know? The boy comes. The only reason I knew that was because I'm constantly moving around my camera. I'm paying attention to, you know, items, levels, and more importantly, now, if that's something you want to try out, the lingering vision. Lingering vision is so cool. It's really, really cool. And it's a great way to start becoming like next level in terms of reading movements. And now we just got a sick little chrono combo here. Drafting around your teammates is really nice. I think there's a lot of ways you can do this, especially with Jakiro in particular. Jakiro Void, Jakiro Naga. But you can do this with a ton of different things. You can pick things like Grimstroke Sven, right? And that's a great way because a lot of those lanes are very strong and they have teamfight synergies. And if you're playing with a friend, that's a great way to, once again, have even more impact as a support. And yeah, now you notice, like, sure, am I the most farmed hero in the game? No, but I buy cost-effective items. I have a win lace, I buy wards, I buy a ton of clarities to continuously stay on the map, and most importantly, right, like my top 3 items, Tranquil's Wand and Force Staff, they're cheap but effective, right? I don't buy mana boots because I understand that I want a wand to sustain my mana. I want Tranquils because I want to split push and be fast, right? I want to be able to push in waves and get in and get out. That's my idea, and be able to move around the map quickly, right? I have 395 movement speed. That's extremely high for a pause 5. And yeah, once again, we take a look at the levels. Zeus 12, Mirana 14, 16, 16, 14, and I'm 18. If we look at my team, yes, we're winning, which is, a result of a lot of different things. But most importantly, this is my mid laner, and this is my off lane, right? This is pause 4, this is pause 3. And like at this point, yeah, you could argue I have 40% XP gain and I'm taking tomes. Like fine, that's totally fair. But at the same time, that doesn't give me level 18, right? That's not the strict reason why I'm level 18 more right now. There's a lot more to it. And as a result, like once again, my priority, I just shove in waves. That's it, guys. And you notice I don't instantly leave. And if you can implement this into your games, like I think you'll just be able to have more impact. Because what I say is like down with the pause 6. Is it something to learn? Is it something to consider? Yeah, if you're going to play Abaddon, this style might not work, right? Abaddon doesn't have a good way of shoving waves, right? And as a result, if you want to play like how I'm playing right now, you need to pick something like a Grimstroke, a Wyvern, a Jakiro, right? You can't pick Abaddon. You could pick something like Warlock, but maybe not Oracle, right? It's all about kind of figuring out what your hero's strong with, giving things a different try, and this is my personal take on supporting, and this is the future of supporting. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. I'm going to end it there. I really hope you learned a lot, especially like let me know down in the comment section below if you were surprised by the lingering vision comment. I don't think I've talked about that at all or in any of my videos. I think maybe I mentioned it once with our TC Lifestealer clip, but other than that, hopefully you can implement that into your games and learn something new today. Thanks for watching.
Do you want to carry your games but always find yourself stuck in the support role? On gameleap.com, we have the tools you need to take control of your games as a pause 4 and pause 5. With hundreds of guides covering hero specifics and key concepts like ganking and lane control, GameLeap is the place to unlock your potential as a support player. Hit the link on screen right now to take advantage of our special offer for a 25% discount and start your journey today.